There's one American in there, and they bring me in to see him. They're electrocuting him. They got a clip on his penis and one on his ear. And it's hanging out of the wall, dude, and they're shocking him.
So at least they put one of them on somewhere fun.
So
this city doesn't hand out respect. It watches. It waits. Then, when you've proven it, it remembers your name. And once it does, you don't need to talk loud. You just take your seat back here and tell the truth.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Backseat Ballers with Elliot Omenson and our special guests. One on camera. I don't know. Can we get Yoska on camera at all, or is she? Oh yeah, because we got a 360 camera, right? Yep. Yeah. So we got Rocky Malloy and Yoska Malloy, and I think you're in for one of the most interesting and poignant stories you're ever going to hear told on Backseat Ballers. So, Rocky, you've lived a life that I think comes straight out of movies. And so I guess a question I want to start off with is, when someone meets you for the first time, what part of your story do you think they get wrong?
I think they get the motivations of my life wrong. They always jump to the conclusion that I was, serving the devil or whatever. And I was trying to serve the Lord, but I was misinformed of how to best do that.
And you mentioned that we did a quick promo for you on Murphy's Market Minute. And yes, I 100% agree. It's one of the reasons why I want to start with this question. You told me you were trying to serve the Lord with what you were doing in Mexico. Explain that to me.
Well, I was a merchant marine officer. I was in command of a vessel, and I was in the bridge of that ship when I saw the Mexican government push a little town off a cliff.
Oh my goodness.
And from the bridge, I could see people were really, I couldn't hear, it was too far away, but they were throwing dirt in the air, and you could see them all crying and screaming and stuff. There's a little church, and they were making room for the refinery. And I don't know any of the backstory. Maybe they were there illegally, I don't know. But as the commander, I could leave this compound at will. So it was a couple of miles. I walked over there and asked them how I could help them. I'm thinking they want food and blankets like on TV. These guys said they wanted guns. They wanted weapons. They were ticked off. So I said, okay, I've got explosives, access to explosives, weapons. But I said, at the level that you're talking about, you're going to need way more than I've got. So this was Oaxaca, Mexico. They had access to a lot of marijuana. So I was trading marijuana to the munitions in the whole harbor.
What?
It turned into a civil war. If you might remember, there was the southernmost state of Mexico tried to secede from the Union, and this is what kicked it off.
You're like an accidental revolutionary.
Yeah, it was unintended, but I took it at heart because I felt so bad for these people. They were very sincere, and they were telling me about all the tyranny they lived under. So yeah, I was all in.
Well, okay, and so so to me, I wouldn't think there's anything wrong with your actions in that case.
Well, the Mexican government took a dim view of leading a revolution to have one of their states succeed from the Union.
I would imagine they would. Okay, so expand on this, right? So you're facilitating the trade of marijuana for weapons. You're trying to help this state succeed from Mexico, and did it just slowly get ramp up and get out of control?
Well, I didn't really know they were going to succeed from the Union. It kind of turned into that. I was just trying to help this little community defend themselves against this injustice, right?
Yeah.
So, it unraveled really quick. So, merchant vessels have quite a bit of explosives. So I was moving, dynamite, weapons, and everything else to them, and they were going to town. So I ended up being arrested And
What was that like? Tell me, walk me through that. So like, are you on the vessel? Are you in the town? Like,
all right, so there's another vessel in town. If you're old like me, you remember Robinson Crusoe was his
Yes.
French explorer. His ship was a wooden hulled minesweeper, World War II, where the sister ship of the Calypso was in the same harbor, and they were there for repairs. So I had put about 25 pounds of marijuana, a big cathedral level Bible, and a Strong's Concordance, because this boat was going to take me to an uninhabited island and drop me off, and I was just going to be a hermit and, you know, learn about Jesus. And the island was called Isla de Cocos. It was the same island Robinson and Crusoe was shipwrecked on. Now, he was alone all those years. He made up my guy Friday to have communications for his book.
okay.
So that ship got busted with my stuff on it.
No way.
So they take these guys to jail, and they completely turn me in.
Yeah,
right?
they sold you out.
They saw, man. I thought
They
there was
didn't
a little
know
more
snitches
honor
got
here.
stitches.
Anyway, so my ship is untying from the dock, and these federales pull up in a pickup truck, all of them armed with Uzis. They get on the boat, and they tell me to bring it back to the dock. And, you know, I'm trying to navigate what's going on here. I knew what was happening because days earlier, a Norwegian freighter offered to take me out of the country, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to leave that way because my passport would have had a big void in it, creates all kind of problems and stuff. So I'm thinking, well, I just wait it out. So the Norwegian tanker, but they took off right away. So yeah, they get on board and they put me. So there's 4 of us in the front seat of this pickup truck.
And real quick, how old were you at the time?
I was in my mid-20s.
Dude, my goodness. All right, so you're mid-20s, there's 4 of you, they put you into the...
Yeah, so I'm trying to play totally cool. So I convince them to let's go eat lunch before we go to jail. So they go, yeah, okay. So they were going to this restaurant, and there was the little girl, the young lady that was waiting on us, she used to sell popsicles in this town.
Okay.
And when we walk in there with these guys, she's trying to tell me, man, you are in big trouble. What are you sitting with these guys for? And just to make the whole story whole, I had really long hair, a big full beard, because I'm trying to look like Jesus. I'm trying to find out the story. So when I would come into town, people would ask me to pray for their babies or touch them or stuff like that. So that's kind of my persona, right?
So, okay, we're gonna pause it for 1 second. How did you, like, what 25-year-old is wanting to look like Jesus, and like, what had you that committed to Christianity at that point?
Well, I had, when I was in 9th grade, all my in-laws lived in North Carolina. My dad was a store manager in Texas. So every few years we'd drive back. Well, when I was in 9th grade, I got hold of my grandmother's history book from when she was in the 9th grade. And her history book was different than my history book. Facts were different.
Yep.
And it unconsciously put me on the exit. I became a complete rebel. But I was like where you're in your head, you're standing up and everybody tells you to sit down.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, if they could lie about history, maybe they lied about the Bible.
Yep.
So it made me very sensitive to people lying to me, and I was already on the edge kind of a rebellious young guy. So I thought the only way you could be sure to go to heaven was to die as a martyr.
That's a really extreme view for a young person to get.
Yeah, so that's the mentality I had when this came around, that even though it was a high-risk deal and there was lots of different stories, when you're moving weapons out of a guarded compound, there was one time I had a .44 revolver and a case of hollow point bullets. Well, in Mexico, it was death sentence, anything over 40 caliber.
Yeah.
So this guard has got his hand into my backpack, feeling around for what could be contraband, or especially in this case, a weapon.
Yeah.
And the Mexican, one of the head revolutionary guys, is right next to me. And we're talking, if this guy touches that gun, I'm dead. So we're talking him through letting us continue out the gate, and his hand's just on the other side of a t-shirt of grabbing that 44.
Wow.
And your heart is pounding, you're sweating, but your exterior composure is totally calm. You're the captain, you're confident, right? Scenes like that, dude, where your adrenaline is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So I want to stick on something for a second though. So was your family growing up really religious? Did you go, I mean, like, was church a big part of your life? Was it a fire and brimstone kind of?
No, my mom and dad grew up Baptist.
Okay.
And when my dad was transferred to Galveston was a very Catholic community, so they started going to Catholic church. So I went to Catholic school as a young boy.
Okay.
And when I was in third grade, they decided to go to a church closer to our house, which happened to be Lutheran, which had a lot of the same, church. It looked very similar to Catholic, except it was, of course, Protestant.
Yeah.
So that's how I grew up. And then, my mom and dad I think they were sincere believers, but you wouldn't call them religious necessarily.
Okay.
Right?
So a lot of kids go to church. A lot of kids are in a home with parents that take them to church but aren't over the top. But they don't develop the idea that they need to die a martyr to go to heaven.
Yeah, man, it was, it was so serious.
It's just something about it just resonated, just struck you. It just went to your core.
Yeah, man. Just to give you an example, I was reading my Bible, and it said if you loved your mother and father more than you loved God, you couldn't make it to heaven. Now, I misinterpreted that. It should have really a better way to translate it. If you love your parents more than the Lord.
Yeah.
But I'm reading King James, right?
Yeah.
So while I'm reading that passage, this guy comes and says, hey, we need a hand on our ship. Will you come with us?
Okay.
And I made a decision right on that spot. So I called my mother and father, and I told them to put an empty coffin in the ground. They were never going to see me again, because if I loved them more than God, I couldn't go to heaven.
Gotcha.
So I'm done. You can imagine, man, it just destroyed my mom and dad. So I go to the ship, and my mom and dad, a few weeks later, they come to the port to see me, and I tell the captain, I said, I'm not coming off the ship. I said, I told my mom and dad I'm dead to them. That was 8 years.
Wow.
And I was in Brazil, and I was calling a guy in Chicago to close a drug deal. I dialed Chicago, and my father answers the phone, and it was Easter Sunday. He couldn't believe it was me, and I couldn't believe it was him. So my dad starts crying. My mom is, we're Rocky are so worried about you, blah, blah, blah. Because they've been hearing stories, man, of all kind of crazy things I'm doing from different people, but they don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah.
So, it was maybe 6 or 8 months later, I come through town briefly just to say, here I am, like that, whatever. And, dude, I took it totally I couldn't have been more serious.
Have you ever pondered on that and tried to figure out like what it is about you, your personality, your previous life experiences?
Elliot, I've thought about it some, but I'm thinking nothing can be more serious. We're here for what, 80 years, 100 years, whatever.
If you're lucky.
And then you're for all eternity somewhere else. And it always seemed foolish to me to guard this short period of time at a cost of all eternity. It just never made sense to me. Why would you mistreat someone? Why would you be unkind to someone? Not that I haven't done those things.
Yeah.
But at a cost. and giving, when it comes to money and resources and all that, why would you not be generous on every occasion? Anyway, those are things that
and that was just something you were, I believe, like in what some people, what they call the gifts of the spirit, right? I think certain people are just born with certain understandings and views and stuff. So you've understood this, and this has been your view from early on in life.
From early on, yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's jump back. You're at the restaurant. The girl's telling you shouldn't be with these guys. You talked them into going to lunch. Let's pick that back up.
So one of the officers sitting next to me has,
where am I going?
I tell him that he looks Spanish.
Okay.
And in Mexico, that's a huge compliment because the royal family were all Spaniards, right?
Yeah.
So he was the most Spanish looking. So I'm working a little flattery on him. I'm trying to, and he tells they don't know I can speak Spanish pretty well.
Oh, okay.
So he tells the other guys, he said, there is no way this guy's guilty. He's buying us lunch. He's totally, you could not be this. I had no idea how much trouble I was in. That's one reason I was being so cool. But years ago, I'd seen a Bruce Willis movie where he gets arrested and he goes to jail and he uses his one phone call to order pizza for the whole police station, and they perceived him to be cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that's my strategy here.
Okay.
So I take him out to lunch, and he almost convinces the other guys to let me go. And they go, no, we had a warrant. We got to, let's just take him down there and they'll work through it.
Yeah.
So we have lunch and all that. They're all drinking beers and everything, and I'm drinking beers with them. We're all partners, right?
Yeah,
so we show up at the police station, and these 6 guys that were on this other ship, they're messed up. They're all bloody. They're dirty. They've been beating these guys up, man. They wrap their hands around their body like with a big ace bandage, and they push them over like bowling pins, dude. And they are busted up. So when I walk in the door, it's like a choir. They all start pointing at me. He's the one. Oh, no, he's the one, dude. Oh my God! Here I am trying to be Mr. Cool and everything, and these guys are singing. He's the one. He's the one. Oh my God! He's the leader. Blah blah blah. Okay, all right. So then all of a sudden everything changes. Okay, all right. Let's just break him in, stamp him, and get him out.
Yeah.
So everything changed at that point.
So let's finish. I feel like this is like kind of like the origin story to a superhero. So you everything changes. You go before a judge?
Nope, never went for the judge. What happens then is they take me in a room and they want me to start telling them who the people are I'm giving these guns and drugs.
They want you to sell out the villagers.
Yeah. So I go, okay, let's go. So we get in a car and we drive by, and the guy that was with me when I was smuggling the gun out of the compound, for instance, I'm bringing rifles and dynamite and everything else, but this one episode with the pistol was really intense. So we drive by, and he sees me in the truck with this guy. He knows exactly what's going on. I kind of gave him the nod like this, very, nonchalant.
Yeah.
So they know to get out of town.
Gotcha.
And then I act like I can't find a place. So we're driving all around, alerting all these guys to get out.
Okay.
So at some point, they realize what's happening. They are really mad with me. But, I'm a gringo. What do I know, right?
Yeah.
So we go back. Now, I tell the guys when I get there that, first of all, I'm not talking. Because when they arrest Jesus, Jesus didn't talk. Okay? So I'm not talking. So finally, they really press me, and I go, I'm the Son of God. And I look like Jesus, okay? Big hair, full beard.
Yeah, I've seen the picture.
Because John 10:34 says we're the sons of God. So I'm quoting scripture. I go, I'm the Son of God. Well, dude, they freak out. Because the whole townspeople think I'm some kind of holy man, all right? Because I had custom white clothes made out of linen. So I've got white clothes on, big hair.
Yeah.
All right. So then they put me with some doctor dude, and they're gonna. They go, look, dude, you're gonna have to talk. I'm not talking. I'm not saying anything. So then This is a scene right here. They take me, dressed in white. Now I've got these other guys' blood and stuff all over me. And these other 6 guys, and they march me through town under machine gun escort to show all the townspeople I'm a bad guy. And they're marching me to a clinic or a hospital where they're supposedly going to inject me with true serum to make me talk. So we're marching there. Dude, it's so crazy. I'm walking through this small town, and all the people that used to come out for me to pray for their babies and stuff, the doors are closing, the shops are locking down, everybody's running away, and they're getting out of the way from all this happening, right?
Okay.
And so the streets are abandoned in front of me as they march me to the hospital. I get into this like clinic hospital thing, and this doctor guy with a big syringe, okay, we're going to inject you. I'm still not talking. So the people all those other 6 guys are crying, begging, please, please stop, because they don't know what's going to happen to them. I ain't talking. So the Mexican federales, they're just infuriated. They never jack me with anything. I never talk. So then they march me back through town, the same escort, and I've got kind of a weird sombrero on, and at this point it looks like a halo, dude. It's insane. All right, they take me back to the police station, and then they put me in a room. The desk in that room is kind of a metal flake green, and the paint's kind of peeling off. The paint, the color of the room is like kind of baby pink, baby poop green. I mean, it's all, look, this is Oaxaca. It's 120 degrees in the shade, man. It's a desert, okay? Yeah. So, there's a door I walk through. On both sides of the door are 2 guys. I've never seen them before, and they got automatic weapons. In this case, AK-47s. The safeties are off. And there's this girl at this desk. She's typing, and they sit me down at the desk. I'm sitting there. So this guy walks in from her left. There's the other door in the room. Walks in from behind her, and this girl says he's the head federale.
Okay.
This girl says to this guy, she goes, Dad, I think you should leave this guy alone. He said he's the Son of God, and look at him. He's creeping me out. So that ticked this guy off. So she's typing a confession, deposition, whatever she's typing in his typewriter. You know, it's back in the old days where you actually push keys.
Yeah.
He reaches over and zips that paper out of the typewriter. He lays it down in front of me, and he said, sign this, in Spanish, right?
Okay.
Well, if I'm not talking, I'm definitely not signing.
Yeah.
Okay, I just sit there looking at him. Then, I mean, this guy, he's like, you know, the whole Mexican macho thing you can imagine. Yeah. He has a sidearm. He pulls the sidearm out. He puts it right over the shoulder of his daughter. He pumps it out and he said, sign or die. Elliot, I thought this was my big chance to go to heaven as a martyr.
Wow.
I pull my shirt over. I lean into the muzzle of that pistol so it's pressing into my chest, and I ordered him to shoot me. I want to see Jesus. Dude, It blew his mind. Now, I don't know if he didn't shoot me because his daughter was there or what. Dropped the sidearm, walks out. Girl gets up, walks out. The 2 guys with automatic weapon, they walk out. I'm sitting alone in this room for about 30 minutes. Catholic priest comes in. He's speaking English. He goes, son, these people are going to kill you. If you sign this confession, they'll be merciful. If you don't sign this, they're going to torture you to death. And I'm serious as a heart attack. I go, well, wouldn't that be good? I show up as a tortured martyr. Don't I get extra points for that?
Well, that's the way it works, right?
And he goes, son, look, I don't know what kind of drugs you're on right now. We're talking about some serious pain here. They're going to torture you to death if you don't sign this paper. If you sign this paper, they'll just execute you. So I sit there looking at the priest like, look, man, I want to go in and blaze in glory to heaven, bro. I want the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I didn't say it like that, but that was the whole. He takes a pen in his hand. he grabs my hand and he just like one line across the bottom of that page, picks the paper up and walks out.
Wow.
So I'm still sitting there. So then, about 30 or 40 minutes later, they come back in. I think it's over, dude. They're going to take me out.
Yeah.
But they chained me to the other guys, the other 6 guys.
Okay.
So, I've learned a while back, man, you charge the gunman. At one point, there was only one guy with a shotgun in the room with us. So I tell the other guys, I said, look, man, this is our shot. So I tell him, when I stand up and I charge this gunman, I said, you guys got to follow me. We're going to take this guy out. We're going to take that gun and we're going to get out of here. So, dude, they're just terrified. You're talking about biker looking dudes, dude. They just completely broke down. And I stand up. The guy starts fumbling around with his weapon. I go, and nobody else, I'm chained to him. They didn't move, bro. I sit back down. I go, that was our shot. Anyway, a few hours later, it's pouring down rain. They put us in the back of a pickup truck, and now they've added 3 other people to me, right? So there's them, me, plus these 3 other guys, 10 total. They cram us all in the back of the same pickup truck, and they're driving us to the Tehuantepec Federal Penitentiary. I'm done. There's no trial. There's no nothing. I'm sentenced to life in prison. The 3 guys they added to us are going to be executed that morning by hanging.
Oh my goodness.
So it is pouring down rain. So one guy with an automatic weapon sits next to the cab. All of us pack into the back of that pickup truck. We're all chained together, and we start heading to the prison. When we get to the prison, there's a cage about approximately 4 foot square, maybe 5 foot square. There's one other guy in that cage because he'd killed so many people in prison. He's kind of like in solitary confinement.
Okay.
They put all 10 of us in there. Now there's 11, and you can't breathe. There's not enough room in there to breathe. So we take our belts off and put it in the corners of this, like a cage, it's like a cyclone fence, and they're sitting on these belts, these 4 smaller guys, so the rest of us can breathe. But you still can't move, and there's fleas or something jumping up, biting us, tearing our flesh. Now these 3 guys start giving me their deathbed confession.
Well, yeah, because you're the son of God.
Yeah, they're dying. They're dying the next
Yeah.
morning, and they take them out, dude, they hang them.
Wow.
So then they put us now in general population where there's a long line of about 150 guys, and I'm right in the middle. And this is like a Western movie. They're calling like Juan, Pablo, and when they do their name, they go, yo, yo. When they get to me, I start roaring like a lion as loud as I can.
Okay.
And when that happens, this whole prison population, along with the guards, they all run up. And I go, I'm the new prison boss. They go, okay. I'm thinking if I'm there for life, bro,
Yeah.
I got a score
That's
right
right.
off the bat. I got to let them know who the boss is. Well, I didn't know what that all entailed, right? So anyway, there's all kind of things that happened during that day as the prison boss. But later that afternoon, the same guy, the arresting officer, who I was really flattering, he looked like Spaniard, they wanted to let me go. He comes back. Now he's holding an automatic weapon. Safety's off. He's on an AK. It's very easy to see.
Yeah.
So he's holding it kind of casually, and he's in the prison with his weapon. He's pointing it right. He's like just inches from my gut, and he keeps going, freeze. And he gets pretty excited about it. Something, they're going to shoot me right now. They're going to take me. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
He's trying to say free, but he can't. He can't.
Okay.
He doesn't have enough English. So, I mean, dude, this is a prison where corporal punishment is they cut off body parts.
Jeez.
So there's people there that touch something they weren't supposed to touch. They cut out the palms of their hand and crippled their hands. If you walked where you weren't supposed to walk, they cut off the bottom of your feet and your feet were crippled. Guys are walking around on their hands and knees because they went somewhere they were supposed to go. There's one American in there, and they bring me in to see him. They're electrocuting him. They got a clip on his penis and one on his ear. And it's hanging out of the wall, dude, and they're shocking him.
So at least they put one of them on somewhere fun.
So So then they walk in there and they take a bottle of like seltzer, like club soda or something. They spray it up his nose and they bring him back to consciousness.
Oh my goodness.
So he's walking me around telling me how it all goes. Anyway, when this officer comes to get me, he walks with me to this like 20-foot tall cyclone fence, like sometimes it's called chain link fence. And there is a little like building there, like administrative building, where he leaves me on the other side of this thing and he walks over to this administration building. It was over to my left. Well, there's only an American guy in there. He puts 2 fingers through to because we're never going to see each other again, whatever happens to me. We're thinking they're just going to take me outside and shoot me because I'm American. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
At that moment, he's looking directly into thin air, and there's an audible voice that says, "I've set you free. Now go do my work." Wow. He goes, "What was that?" I look back, man, there's nothing there. Now, as dumb as I am, I thought, that's God's licensing me to become a mercenary. Okay. Right. Dude, I'm getting out of jail.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, my visa ran out, so I spent the next day in a county jail, which was worse. It was a horrific experience.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is that when you're in Mexico, if you have a problem,
yeah,
and you call the police, well, now you have 2 problems.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah. So one thing I love that I can tell immediately with you, right, is you do go through life with no fear. You've accomplished some really incredible things. What's the underlying, like, why are you so driven?
Because I've seen so much catastrophe, harm, and death that I want to be an agent to help people have a better life now and prepare them for all eternity.
But you grew, I mean, you was your family middle class?
Middle class.
Right? So how often does a kid from a middle class family decide they're going to walk away from all that and go to the third world edges of humanity and try to save people? It's not a common thing, right?
Statistically, no.
And you've done it at great cost to yourself.
Yes.
Right?
And my family. My mother and father, it was terrible what I did to them.
Yeah.
So
now, did you ever have a chance to repair that?
Well, you know what? My mother and father were very gracious. My brothers and sisters were really hurt because I was gone for 8 years when I left, and my little brother was a little kid, and I came back, he's a full-grown guy. He wanted to take me in the backyard and beat me up, and my sisters they couldn't believe I still had all my body parts because they heard all these crazy stories about me, and then I show up, and I'm a whole person, and I didn't try to justify it. I just told them I was really sorry, and,
I'm going to turn left here. Yeah.
So
was that hard?
Yeah, it was hard because I felt, I was making decisions, very impetuous decisions. I thought I was doing the right thing. I wanted to serve God. And it appeared that that had to come at the cost of everything. So I gave it all up to do that. And then as I got more mature, I realized is that the truth and love is where we're at. It doesn't have to destroy everything.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be so extreme.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think this would be a good time to get into, and we're going to skip a lot of your life here. What led up to 2021 when you founded, and let me get the name right, the National School Chaplain Association?
Yeah.
Where did that idea come from?
Well, we had formed the organization in Latin America and it had been growing very fast.
Okay.
And so we the people we were talking to kept saying, well, you need to do that here. And I never really felt called to do it in the United States. But then other people said, well, you can't do it here because it would be illegal. And it was creating all kind of problems when I'm raising money and awareness for what we're doing overseas.
Yeah.
So then I felt compelled to come to the United States. And quickly after coming to the United States, the Texas State Board of Education picked up on what we were doing and got highly involved. It turned out to be legislation which was signed into law in 2023, the School Chaplain Act.
That recent.
Yeah. Then, now 30 states have filed that legislation.
Wow.
I mean, it's landmark legislation and it took off. I mean, it's a movement. So last year, Louisiana and Florida passed laws. This year, Missouri passed a law. And states are filing again. It's moving. And then we got the attention of this current administration. So we're invited to the White House. We've been there twice. We're invited to the Department of Education, HHS.
And you're gonna be with me in Mar-a-Lago on the 3rd, right?
That's right. Be with you in Mar-a-Lago on December the 3rd.
Yeah, that's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah.
And I actually think that ties in a lot to what you're doing, actually, right? So that's Glenn Beck's The American Journey experience, which is more focused on the history of America. But chaplains have been a significant part of American history. Congress, the military, right?
Chaplains have been a very big part of U.S. history. George Washington instituted chaplains, Articles of Confederation, before the U.S. Constitution existed. And the very first act of Congress was to recognize the Articles of Confederation and chaplains, the very first thing they did. So chaplains predate the U.S. Constitution. That's why they're ironclad.
Yeah.
So now God, Jesus Christ, can come back to school. Prayer and faith can come back constitutionally sound.
Yeah.
It's a way to do it in the law, legally. Our country's being destroyed by this godless attitude that we don't need God or he's dead. That's an experiment that has got to go away.
Yeah. So as you've built this organization, 24,000 chaplains in schools, right? Is close
Actually,
to
we
that?
have 47,000 chaplains working in 39,000 schools.
Holy cow.
35 million people are being ministered to by chaplains every school day. 23 nations,
Wow.
including the United States.
And one of the things that I liked that I saw is you guys actually track like the impact that this has on kids,
Right.
right? In regards to suicide and all this kind of stuff, right? Can you speak to that a little bit?
That's what got the attention of Texas and these other states. Up to 80% reduction of teen pregnancies, which resulted in approximately 37% increase in graduations, because now a lot more girls are graduating.
Yep.
They didn't get pregnant.
Yep. Yeah.
The biggest and most important thing to me is zero suicides of any young person in a school that's had a chaplain for 2 years or more. Now, that's the leading cause of death of young people in every state, or the second leading cause, suicide. So why wouldn't every school want to prevent suicides by having a chaplain in school?
Yeah. What do you think it is that like what is it about a chaplain in a school that helps with that?
Because students can talk to a chaplain off the record. That's why it works so well in the military. It's against the law for a chaplain to say or repeat a conversation they have with anybody. Yeah. So a chaplain talks to you about some of the experience you had.
Yeah.
It's illegal for him to repeat that.
Yeah, it's like client-attorney privilege or something.
Exactly.
So I'm going to actually push back here just a little bit. And this is not a scientific example. I've had one experience with a chaplain in the military.
Yeah.
And something bad happened to my daughter at home. I felt like it would be appropriate for me to go home to deal with that. The chaplain seemed to me to just be a mouthpiece to the chain of command. And this guy literally showed me a picture of his 3 daughters, told me that as difficult as it would be, he would stay there and do his duty. And I said some very harsh, unkind things to him and his fatherhood. And walked out of there, right? I felt like he was just a prop to the military command, not actually there for me, right? So maybe that wouldn't happen as much in the school, but how do you keep that separation between them there for the agenda of the administration versus the actual individuals they're supposed to be ministering to?
Well, the act, first of all, maybe that was inappropriate by the chaplain. What happens is the commanding officer has a lot of influence on the chaplain.
Yeah.
So the CO could have said, no one goes off base. So
Yeah.
now the chaplain's in this very uncomfortable position to maintain the respect for the commanding officer. The chaplain can supersede the commanding officer.
Yeah.
The only officer on the garrison that can do that. But at what cost would that
Yeah.
be? And so,
Well, I walked into the colonel's office and told him he needed to put his policy on paper and sign it or fly me home.
what happened?
I flew home.
Okay, great.
But my problem was there wasn't too many soldiers that had that, like, you know, had that, like, I just don't care. Do whatever you want to me. I'm going to do what's right by my family.
Yeah.
Right. And so many other soldiers would have gone in there because of their age, their inexperience. They would have had the chaplain give them that nonsense. Right. And so I just had this one experience. It's only one. It's not, you know, but it was a very negative experience in my mind. And like I said, it just seemed to me they're just a prop of the system. Right. And I feel like I'm like you in a lot of ways. Like I'm very much anti the system.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I like it. So, but a chaplain in the military has what they call two collars. One side is their rank, one side is their insignia.
Okay.
That's
All right. And
why I
that
wear
doesn't
this.
exist in school.
Right. Well, in school, it's the same thing. Is a chaplain has to obey the school policies
Okay.
unless they're in conflict with their belief. And a chaplain, a federally defined chaplain, that's what we are,
Yeah.
is that they cooperate without compromise. I'm going to cooperate with your system,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to compromise my faith. I'm going to
Okay.
pray in the name of Jesus. I'm going to do my God duty in your school
Yes.
to the best of my ability,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to compromise.
Gotcha.
That's what your chaplain should have done.
Yeah. 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 I agree with that. So how do you get, so I researched a little bit of this, right? And I read a lot as to why a chaplain in a school is considered to be unconstitutional versus a chaplain in the military. The court, supposedly the Supreme Court has ruled in numerous cases. And so how is that like impacting your mission and
Well, I'll tell you what, our attorney told HHS and the Department of Education when they said, well, you know, these are minors and stuff. And he said, well, let me establish something right now. When you're in the womb, you're a U.S. citizen.
yeah,
No matter what age you are, you stay a U.S. citizen.
yeah,
And the free exercise of religion is your First Amendment right.
yes,
To deny someone chaplain services is to deny them free exercise.
okay. So your argument is that just because you're on a school ground, you can't stop me from exercising my First Amendment right of free exercise of religion.
Absolutely. And President Trump issued an executive order on that in his first term, which stated it just like that. And he recently issued what's called an executive memo
Okay.
that you can talk to people about the way you believe with the intent to bring them over to how you believe.
Yeah.
Never been challenged.
Interesting. All right. So and then you sent me an article. Is it Oklahoma where the congressperson is like went on TV to try and push back against it?
Yeah. Well, he got crushed.
Did he?
He said, it's not constitutional to have chaplains in school. So First Liberty contacted him and said, oh, where are you getting that from? Right?
Yeah.
And that we have chaplains in airports. Your state has chaplains that are working in prisons and everywhere else, hospitals. Federal government has chaplains. Why would there be a certain geographic area where all of a sudden that's not possible? How can you geographically locate a school as a non-religious First Amendment right area? You can't do that.
Yeah.
So it pushed them back.
Oh, all right. Well, congratulations.
So it's interesting that we're in a cemetery because we discussed what Jesus said, while it's light, work.
Yes, I love that quote.
So we're in the light. Now
Yep.
we're surrounded by people who are now no longer in the light of this day.
Yep.
So, Elliot, the reason I believe the Lord brought us together is we're both men of action that want to maximize the time of light that we have, to do everything we can to represent the kingdom of God, the eternity that it represents, but the abundance of life that it is now.
Yes, yes.
The healing, the anointing, everything that we can experience now as a witness to our relationship with Jesus.
Absolutely. And you look out at all these tombstones, right? And they all represent somebody, right? And they represent those people's families, those connections. They represent, their trials, their struggles, their successes. How many of them do you think lived life with the fervor and the urgency that would really result in you having accomplished everything you could have ever wanted to accomplish in life?
When I come to a graveyard, I think of all the dreams, the visions, all the possibilities that died because they didn't take action. For whatever reason, they were intimidated. They postponed it. The day was never the right day. It's like planting a tree. It's either the best day is 20 years ago or today, right?
In reality, the day was 20 years ago, but you can't have planted it 20 years ago if you don't plant it today.
So when I come here, I think of all the richness of a cemetery and everything that went to the grave that was unfulfilled. Now, I know maybe a lot of people here fulfilled their call of God, but if for no other reason, if you're listening this today, hear the voice of the Lord and step into your destiny, fulfilling everything He has for you.
And don't you think, I'm not the best Bible scholar, but I know that you're told in the scriptures to walk without fear through faith in Christ, right? So to exercise that would require you to take those steps forward, right?
Yeah, it means there's something.
Because what do you got to worry about?
They said healing is in the wings. If you look at that, it's really healing is in the edge. So the lady with the issue of blood, where did she grab Jesus? She grabbed him on the hem, the edge. That's where the healing was. That's where the anointing is. That's where the power is, on the very edge of pushing out.
Yes.
And in Hebrews it says, those that draw back are not with the Lord. You lose the anointing by not being on the edge, and it's dangerous on the edge. Yeah. You've been in combat. You know what it is to be in the very front, right?
Yeah.
So when you don't know who's behind you, and sometimes you don't even know who's on your flanks. You're looking dead into the eyes of the enemy.
Yeah.
And if you're not there, you're out of the anointing. We have to push in and push out.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite books, The Way of the Superior Man, he talks about how you should always be out on that edge with a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of fear, extending yourself a little bit beyond what you're capable of. And you should live in that. And it's interesting to me how all these modern philosophers just say the same thing the scriptures say. Because everything I ever hear that strikes me from one of these modern books, it's always just a repeat of what was written in the scriptures. It's just worded differently. And I find that to be wild. So, and it's like you made it off camera. You're talking about how, I think it was off camera, you had said, you'd tell them yeah, it was off camera. You're talking about when you took over like your own like kingdom in the jungle and you were appointed the judge and you were telling them that they had to read this book and like every day. And you're like, yeah, every day, the same book every day. You're like, yeah, every day. Because it's like you can read one verse one day and get one thing out of it and come back to it 5 years later, read the same verse and get something different out of it, right?
Yeah, it was a little different context. Yeah, but yeah, you got to read it every day. You got to stay in the Word. You have to be in relationship. If not, you drift off. I used to be a merchant marine officer, commander of a vessel. If you're 1/2 degree off, you're hundreds
Yeah.
of miles
and
off.
the longer you persist at that half a degree off, the further off you become, right?
Right.
And so that's really a call for people to get their life in alignment immediately, right? Plant that tree today, get in alignment today, right? Because at some point we're all ending up here. And do you really want to end up there having with a bunch of woulda, shoulda, couldas, right?
That's right. Rosh Kelly right there, the father. November the 6th, 1990. I mean, 1900.
1835 to 1900. That was a long life.
Yeah, he's buried right there.
Yeah.
Did Rosh fulfill his call of God?
Yeah. All right. So one of the things that I wanted to get into is what translates from your time. I mean, obviously being a merchant marine captain, you were a leader, you were the captain of a ship, you commanded people. So, I mean, there's not much, it seems like it should make sense that translates over to running a organization with 47,000 chaplains around in how many different nations?
23.
23. Are there any, was it, I mean, I don't want to say easy, that's probably the wrong word, but to build a huge organization like that, it seems like you've done it, like over what period of time?
You're talking about almost 30 years.
Okay, wow, okay, all right. But only recently in America.
Only recently in America. And Elliot, it's become a movement. Moms and dads want a God witness in school because it creates a safer environment for their children and it reinforces the parents' rights.
Yes. And that is something I very much believe in. I feel like so this might sound really extreme, but I really feel the battle between good and evil has been the same from the beginning of creation, and that's a battle of control versus individual freedom. And I really feel like what I view as and I hate to use the word enemy because I really want to is my voice echoing or something? I really want to get away from all the vitriol that is in the political world in America today, but I really feel like one side wants to have the state educate, control, teach, and take it away from the family, the home, the Bible. And I do feel like that's a major fight that we've kind of not even fought for a long time. I think we just kind of ceded that to the state, to the government. And I think it's only recently where parents are like, I love the homeschool movement. That's where I first saw what you experienced when you read was it your grandmother's history book?
Right.
Right. When we were looking for a curriculum for our kids and we started going back to different iterations of history books in America, you could see how drastically it has been altered and changed. And it was like you had said, if they can lie about history, right, what else are they lying about? And so I do think there's a movement in America to bring the rights back to the parents, to give parents more control over what their kids are being taught, which is something I think is very important. I guess there's no real question there. I'm just agreeing with you. So what's been the biggest challenge trying to do this in America? What's been different about doing it in America than in all these other countries? Because what would seem weird to me is you would think in America where you have the Bill of Rights, and the first one being freedom of religion, other countries don't have that. Other countries don't have freedom of speech. They don't have freedom of religion, right? You would think it'd be easier here. But is it harder?
It's harder because in those countries what happened was we had huge resistance in the beginning. Our church was overrun by military. People are shooting at me. Or at least they drive-by shootings and blew the glass out of the front of our church.
Wow.
So they're not necessarily shooting. Federal marshals were telling me I had to leave the country because there was assassination, all kind of stuff like that. So
what was it like? What it's Sorry about that. It's crazy to me. Like, what was it that made you get perceived as such a threat that people needed to go shoot your church up? Do you know? Was it just the usual fight?
In this case, it was a war with the Bolivian Air Force over property. But you're talking about a communist government, and Jesus is a huge threat to communism because communism wants you to worship the state.
Yep.
And the state has all the solutions. Everything is central control.
Yes.
And so freedom and the tenacity to resist tyranny as a Christian is something the communists don't want.
Yeah. So
I'm still trying to figure it out, Elliot, but in America, the cost of ministry has been way more. I mean, we were missionaries. We lived, in the jungles, and we're living in all these places. And so the cost of ministry was pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
In America, the funding of this has been the biggest challenge of my life.
Okay.
So
let's get into that.
Okay.
What is, I mean, the chaplains, are they paid? Is it volunteer? Like what is the need for funding?
The reason for our need for funding is the administration of what's happening and the education and the awareness. People, United States citizens, do not understand the freedoms they have. They've believed the lie. They believe the separation of church and state thing.
Which doesn't exist anywhere.
No, but
and they somehow turned freedom of religion into freedom from religion.
But the free exercise of religion, that's plainly written.
Yep, you'd think so.
And so they've pushed us back from the free exercise into believing somehow or another that we can't exercise our rights.
Yes.
And it's been...
And that you exercising your right somehow is violating somebody else's right.
Yeah, if you remember back in the Obama administration and others, they go freedom of worship. That's very different than freedom of religion.
Yeah.
Freedom of worship means when you're locked up in some building, you can do whatever you want.
Yep.
But you can't do it at large.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a small example, but, we're coming up on Christmas. I'm signing Christmas cards for all my clients. And I know I have clients who are not Christian. And one of them he's Jewish, and he's one of my very best friends. But I'm going to sign a Christmas card, Merry Christmas to him. And I would hope if there's a Jewish holiday where he were to ever give me a card, he would sign it with whatever
Happy Hanukkah,
salutation
right? Yeah.
that would be appropriate for his Jewish holiday. And him doing that in no way takes away from my Christianity or my belief system. And I would value it and appreciate it. And I'm like, and I would hope that when he receives my Christmas card, whether or not he, gives a crap about Christmas in any way or not, all it is a token of my acknowledgement of him at this time of year, right? So it's like, I've always understood how somebody praying somehow negatively impacts me if I don't believe in whoever you're praying to. It's like, now, I do think that if I have to sit there and listen to an Islamic call of prayer blasted over a loudspeaker through my town, well, that's pretty annoying. It still doesn't hurt me. I think it's annoying. But then I even thought, well, did people find the Catholic church bells annoying? And so I don't know where, I'm just saying, as I think about this, I always try to remain open to trying to make sure that I'm taking everything into consideration fairly, is all I'm saying. But yeah, I don't know where the whole idea came from that you exercising your religion is somehow an affront to someone else. But it seems like in America they've tried to make it that way. So.
Yeah. And your number one freedom is religion.
Yeah.
When they try to take that away, everything else goes behind it.
Yeah. Why do you think they made it the number one in the Bill of Rights?
What?
Well, yeah, right. In the Bill of Rights, right? Isn't it? I mean, is it free speech? But isn't, I mean, the free speech and religion is all tied into the same one, right? The right to assemble, right for religion, right to speech. That's all the first Bill of Rights, right?
Right. The the amendments are what the government can't do.
Correct.
It limits government. It's a limiting government.
Yes.
And we've turned it around to create all these things happen from government. But
well, yeah, isn't that interesting? They're supposed to stop the government from being able to do something, and instead, it's been weaponized to stop us from doing something.
yeah,
That was quite the trick.
like the Second Amendment, it says it can't take away your weapon.
Yeah.
So, and then people get it mixed up like, well, you can go duck hunting, but you can't have a weapon to defend yourself. No.
Yeah.
When they were talking about weapons then, those were military grade weapons.
Yeah, they
I'm
were.
not talking about tanks and bazookas today, but the idea that you can't have a weapon that could actually defend your person or your home.
Yeah. Well, because it goes back to the core of individual rights again, right?
Yeah.
Like, how can you have freedom of speech and freedom to worship or freedom of religion if you don't have the freedom to defend yourself? You don't. So as you've been trying to fundraise, right? And so I want to go back to that because I kind of wandered off, which I do all the time. It's cheap in a lot of these other countries, but here in America, is it legal costs to get these bills passed? Is it marketing? Like, what's the cost?
Well, there's some great legal firms that are nonprofit that have given us all our legal work for free. So that's been a huge benefit. The biggest issues have been education, educating school officials that they can have a chaplain on the payroll is constitutionally solid. Educating legislators that they can have
Cancel.
They can have non-physical bills that allow schools to pay chaplains if they want to.
Cancel. Sorry, I hit a button in my car by accident. So you're actually getting chaplains on school payrolls.
Yes. So we recruit people, we train them and certify them for them to become employees of schools. Now there's been employment services that have talked to us about hiring chaplains and then providing them as contracted services to schools, depending on how the school would like it set up.
Gotcha.
But what's going to happen, Elliot, is that it's going to be like TSA. It's going to open up like a wave across the country. Thousands of school chaplain jobs are going to open up because of the pressure from moms and dads.
Yes, that's what drives everything. So, are there situations where schools are complaining about already having to cut? You know, you always hear about them having to cut funding for special needs or for art or music and theater, and then to trying to go in there and get them to carve out part of their budget for something they haven't previously been funding, that a lot of them are under the impression they're not even allowed to do. I would imagine that makes that very difficult at times.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question because look at Oklahoma. They doubled their education budget, and education outcomes went down. Now, Oklahoma is last in the country in education.
Wow.
Right, doubled the budget. So and
it went down.
Yeah, that's another discussion how they use funds. But like a resource officer could be a chaplain. There's multiple positions in schools that they're already paying for, and that person can also be a certified chaplain.
Gotcha, like a dual
and
role.
Fulfill every responsibility of those other roles.
Yeah, like you have school counselors, right? Like, what would stop somebody from being a school counselor and a chaplain, right? And if the student wanted chaplain services, they're right there to provide that to them, right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, well, the big difference between a school counselor, if they're like an LPC, licensed professional counselor, and a chaplain is, the professional counselor knows that most depression is a result of guilt, which is a spiritual issue, but they can't do anything about it. When the same young person or another teacher talks to the chaplain, they go, look, you've got some guilt here. either something happened to you or you did something. There's a lot of regret there, of remorse, and I'm going to pray with you so we can move beyond this guilt. So you can receive forgiveness, either you forgive another person or yourself, and we can move on. But that's huge. That's a big service.
Yeah. Yeah, and I find that an interesting example because I think a lot of people who have kind of negative religious viewpoints, they always associate religion as the cause of guilt. Like there's this, I call it the philosophies of man, right? Where it's like, they think that religion, because it creates this structure, these rules that you're supposed to live by, and then when you fail at holding up to them, it creates the guilt in you. And so if you just didn't have any rules and we just said everything was good for you to do, then you wouldn't have guilt, right? That's how I perceive, correctly or incorrectly, that's how I perceive the anti-religious viewpoint, right? But you're saying it's the opposite, that when there's a chaplain in the school and a kid is experiencing guilt for something, the chaplain has the ability to help walk them through and eliminate that guilt.
Like a classic example is a divorce.
Okay.
Children almost universally blame themselves at some level for a parent's breaking up.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of guilt with that, even if they never speak it. But when they're talking to the chaplain,
I told my kids it was their fault. Was I not supposed to do that?
No. So these young, sometimes little children are walking around with this huge burden of guilt. Oh, my mommy and daddy aren't together anymore, and it's somehow my fault.
Yeah.
So the chaplain primary is there to listen, to ask questions, to draw this out of the young person, to go, look, your mother and father were adults, they made decisions, you were involved because you were there. Why don't we believe God that you can forgive them and forgive yourself? So we're not going to talk about if you were guilty or not. We're just going to get forgiveness across the board. To love your mother and father, even if they're not together, wherever they're at, but to love yourself and give yourself permission to move forward. And then we question our chaplains to say, well, if Jesus was there, what do you think he would have said? He said, yeah, he would have probably told my dad not to hit my mom. Okay, and what would he have told you? He would have picked you up and loved on you and said, I'm sorry you have to witness this. Yeah. This is not your fault.
So do you guys provide training to these chaplains?
Significant training, and the training is reinforced by universities recognized by the Department of Education.
Oh, wow. Wow, okay, let's talk about that, because another argument I always hear against all this is that you have, so I come from a lot of churches, right? The pastor, whoever's the head of the congregation acts as a de facto therapist a lot of times, and marriage counselor, all that stuff, but a lot of times they don't have any training behind it. And that's one of the criticisms against it, is that there's not these licensed professionals. Now, I have my own opinions about the licensed professionals, but you're saying that you guys actually have accredited university training for these chaplains?
That's correct.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, first of all, they have to have at least 2,000 hours of ministry experience.
Okay.
So we're not talking about parking cars. We're talking about interaction with people.
Yeah.
And we give them 80 hours of training that's online. The first course is free for them to understand what the responsibilities are, what the qualifications are, and what would disqualify someone. And so once we've gotten very good feedback from that. They understand pretty much what their responsibilities would be and everything else. And with that, then they engage in the training, which is 80 hours. And part of that training, or I should say in addition to it, are things like stop the bleed, emergency first aid.
Oh, okay, cool.
Then it's active shooter. Somebody walks into that school and starts shooting kids, the chaplain is prepared to take action.
Wow.
I believe the chaplain's role is to get between the gunman and that community.
Yeah.
And from your training, you charge the gunman.
Oh, yeah. Again, action. I hate the training where they tell you to go cower and wait to get shot in the head. It's like...
Well, in the chaplain's case, he's the designated martyr, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The chaplain charges the gunman. Now,
Yeah.
maybe I know that might get a lot of people upset, but if you're there and you've sworn allegiance to the kingdom of God,
Yeah.
and you're representing your faith group, and a gunman walks into school and shooting innocent children, what else would you do?
Yeah.
Okay? That's probably off course a little bit, but that's how I feel about it.
I'm 100% with you.
Okay. So the other thing is personality threat assessment. Just to recognize behavior of someone that has intent to harm themselves or
Okay.
other people. And Elliot, a big issue was some years ago was all about suicide. It's
Yeah.
still about suicide, but now it's about homicide.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Because it seems like instead of just committing suicide, now it's let's go take out a bunch of people in the process.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's amazing to me hearing it from you, because it's like I have a hard time imagining who wouldn't want these things. It's just that half of the country, the minute you cloak it under Christianity, they freak out and bristle and attack and refuse and whatnot, tear down, right?
It amazes me too, but what I've come to find out is the system doesn't want free thinking people who love God, because they're dangerous. They want people that conform. And the schools, there's a lot of great people in schools, moms and dads and other people that are just great U.S. citizens that want to give back by being a teacher. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This system has embraced Marxism, and it has done so for many, many years.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're
In all its
delivering
forms.
a philosophy in school that, for instance, people don't know that the Chinese Communist Party wrote U.S. history and world history that most states use.
Jeez.
Well, what's the motivation of the communist to write our history? It's
Yeah.
a huge fight in schools right now,
Yeah.
just to tear that away.
Yeah.
So, look, here's the history we have. When a chaplain walks into a campus, it arrests Marxist behavior. People are just too ashamed to keep doing it. And a chaplain has a ministry of presence. We've been driving around today in your beautiful car. When you see a policeman on the side of the road or trooper, what I do is I let my foot off the gas and I see how fast I'm going.
Yeah, I love this analogy. This is an incredible analogy.
So what happens is one officer creates law-abiding citizens out of a long stretch of highway, which
Yep.
saves lives.
Yeah.
I know they get revenue for writing tickets and stuff, but what they do is they create respect for law enforcement, and people behave. They obey the law.
Yeah, yeah. It's the same thing we did overseas. Is we did what's called presence patrols.
Exactly. You're there, so they behave.
We just drive around and everybody knew we're out there. You
So
change
when
your
you're-
behavior.
A chaplain is a badged official. You have a badge. You're a first responder. You have a uniform on, or at least a T-shirt that says school chaplain or campus chaplain. You're identified as the person of God in that community. So people know you know what's supposed to be happening, and most important, you know what's not supposed to be happening. So teachers and students just check themselves. It creates a safer campus. It creates a level of confidence that doesn't exist without that person on that campus.
That's incredible. So, how large is the team that you work with every day? Is it just you and Yoska, or is there a team of people that run this organization? Like, talk to me about your leadership structure.
For the 39,000 schools overseas, we have 4 people.
Oh, wow.
For the United States, with legislation running in 30 states, it's passed into law in 4 states, we have 3 people.
Oh.
Me, a CFO, I never touch the money, and a lady that works with the chaplains.
Okay.
And so when you ask me what we need funding for, God, marketing, media, all these things that have to happen for people to understand they can exercise their First Amendment rights, a free exercise of religion. Their children can be in safer schools. We can arrest Marxism. We can bring prayer back to public education. And so it costs money to do all that, right? Right now, my wife and I have driven to meet you in Kansas City.
Yes.
Last night we were in Tulsa. The day before that we were in Oklahoma City. So just our travel expenses to go talk to people like you to bring awareness that, unfortunately, that comes with a cost.
Yeah.
Right now, I have to, in the name of Jesus, I have to attract $100,000 before January 1st. For a missionary guy, that sounds like making, taking water and turning it into wine.
Yeah, right.
In the big picture, that's really not a lot of money for what we're doing. We're creating, here's what's happening at a federal level. We're creating a civilian chaplains corps that mirrors the military at the request of HHS.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to be with you at Mar-a-Lago on December the 3rd.
Yep.
On December the 2nd, I'm going to be in D.C. meeting with them.
Oh, how incredible. Fantastic. All right. Cool. So if people want to support you, how do they reach out? How do they?
They could go to, it's real simple, www.nsca.global.
All right. NSCA, www.nsca.global.
Right.
And walk me through that when they get to that website.
That'll take you to the website. There's a big red button you can hit donate, and you'll go there and unrestricted. You can give all the money you want, or as little
No
as
limit.
you want.
No limit.
Yeah, there's no limit. There's no minimum. There's no maximum.
What if they want a chaplain in their school for their kids? What if it's a kid that wants a chaplain at their school? What if it's a teacher?
Go to that same website. There's a means for you to contact. I mentioned this third person that works for it, to contact her, and she'll set you up with the free course, and she'll answer any questions you have, and take action. If you don't want to be a school chaplain, talk to your church, other people you think that could be interested. This is a viable means of ministry.
All right, now I probably should have done this first, and I don't want to end on a negative note, so I'll try to bring it back around. Have you thought about, does you accomplishing this open the door for religions like Islam, that I personally believe is an absolute scourge upon the planet, to be able to put imams into schools?
That's the number one question I get, right? So there's different ways to look at it. One is evil's already in school, and we want to get in there with them.
Gotcha.
All right? Our God answers by fire.
And they're going to move in whether we do or not.
That's
I guarantee you they will.
But the other answer that's maybe more satisfying is that there's 7,000 chaplains at a federal level. Less than 1% are everything else except what's called sacred text. Now, some of the people don't really believe what the Bible says, but they were founded on the Bible, okay? So it's a small minority. And so because of your experience in the military, they have to truck in what they call low density faiths, like Buddhists or Muslims or whatever.
Yeah.
They got to contract guys to show up. These are not military officers who've gone through the same rigors of like the Catholic priest you talked to who was a chaplain, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're just not motivated.
Gotcha. Oh, I think Islam is.
Islam's motivated to advance Islam, but Islam is not motivated to lovingly care for people. When our chaplains are trained, when they go into a school district, they should know, and the imams or the rabbis or whoever in that community, if they're talking to, for instance, a Jewish student, and that student has guilt and they need to pray, they would call a rabbi.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, here's our experience. When we call the imams and the rabbis and other people, they're just not that interested.
Interested.
You call the Baptist church or the Presbyterians, they're interested.
Interesting.
They want to get involved. They want to help.
Yeah.
So we're talking to a student, maybe they don't know what their faith group is, or their mom and dad don't go to church.
Yeah.
So
Well, I do like what you said though there. I think that's really important that one of your chaplains will reach out to that student's particular faith to bring them in and involve them in it, instead of, because one of the things I hate is when people have their own agenda, they try to do it in the secrecy and background in a way to like try and subtly convert people over to other things. It's like, if you're confident in your faith or your philosophy, you should do it out in the open where the battle of ideas takes place, and it shouldn't have to be done in secrecy, right? And so if there is a student who is of Jewish faith, I do agree the appropriate thing to do would be to reach out to a member of that student's faith. But if they're not going to come and participate, that's fine. It's just at least you did your job to reach out, right?
That's why chaplains open up Congress with prayer, not a pastor.
Yeah.
A chaplain is outside the church. They are God representatives, not church representatives.
Okay.
That's why
I
they
get that.
are different than every other. That's why they're federally recognized clergy, because their job is to bring you spiritual care. If you're whatever group you belong to.
Yeah, not to push
That's right.
a church.
Now, if you're a Baptist guy or Presbyterian or Assemblies of God or whatever, that's your faith group, and you're never required to compromise your faith group.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're extending sincere spiritual care to another person. If they don't belong to your group, you're not expected to be expert in every group.
Yeah.
Let's say you're a Baptist guy and you're talking to a Catholic.
Yeah.
And so you would call a priest or at least someone from that group and say, I have a beautiful Catholic girl here and she needs to speak with someone that's some tragic thing to happen in her home. Can I set up a time with you and
Gotcha.
her?
I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Cool. So back to your website. What is it again?
NSCA.global.
And people can go there to donate. People can go there to request a chaplain in their school or to become a chaplain or anything like that, right?
That's correct.
Awesome. All right. Well, Rocky, thank you very much for coming all this way. Anything that you would have liked to have touched on that I did not cover?
One thing is, Elliot, when I was a young man, I made a lot of bad decisions and it gave my parents a lot of grief. So if you're a mom or a dad out there and your child is not walking in the ways of the Lord, I want to give you a lot of confidence that Jesus and whatever you put in your young man or young woman when they were young, I'm a shining example of somebody that completely gone off course and came back. So as a mom or dad, if you're grieved about decisions your child is making, I want to give you hope in the name of Jesus that that young person can come back to the Lord and fulfill everything that he has for them. Time, God is the God of time. And he said what the cankerworm destroyed, he can bring back, so it's never too late. So mom and dad, take courage that your child can return to the Lord and fulfill everything he has for them.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Rocky. And Yoska, thank you very much.
Hey, it's great being with you, Kelly.
Yeah,
Great interview.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you guys a lot. But
names get remembered in this city for a reason. What you said in that seat, it's part of yours now. And whether they get it or not, Casey heard you. Backseat Ballers, where the ones who built it finally speak.